Alright, today we're doing something different. I was gifted a ton of graham crackers and thinking of what to do with them. Explored the internet, YouTube, didn't really find anything that struck me as interesting enough to try. So we're going to create our own. I've got 2 sticks of butter and a cup and a half of brown sugar because I was concerned that the graham crackers would make things too dry. So that's where we're starting, and I'm just creaming that together. Crunched up the graham crackers, and I've got about not quite 2 cups set aside for mixing, so the pieces are a little bit chunkier, just to give it a little bit of intrigue. We're going to see what happens. Now these are cinnamon graham crackers, so take that for what it's worth. While I'm mixing, I also have a teaspoon of baking soda, and I only had a half a teaspoon of baking powder left, so we're dealing with that. I also have about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt I'm going to be adding, 2 eggs. We're going to be running this at the regular about 350. I'm going to be doing them in a bar style cookie, and I have a 1/4 sheet jelly roll pan that I'm going to be using. It's actually just under, I don't know, it's just been a favorite of mine for making bar cookies, and great for brownies too, because they'll give you a nice size, enough cuts to make a decent sized brownie and yet still be tasty. So while I'm creaming this up, I was thinking the other day of a funny story. We're talking about kids and interesting things they do, and I've got a kid was putting the kids down in the grass the first time. Now I have a kid who, since she was little, if it was green, she wanted to eat it. Broccoli, green beans, lettuce, spinach, asparagus, you name it. If it was green, she was going to eat it. And she was little at the time when she was first out in the grass, because she was born when it was still freezy cold out. So by the time that the weather was really decent for bringing her outside, she was just starting to taste different things. And one of the things that she saw happened to be all this green grass. So plunked her down in this green grass, and she thought, this is mine. I'm going to eat it. And knowing that I take care of the yard, and knowing that there's no chemicals on it, I kind of laughed. My husband laughed. My mom laughed at this kid thinking that she was going to eat the lawn. And we were teasing that we could use her instead of a sheep and just set her up at one corner of the yard, let her graze to the other end, which would have been very funny. And she would have been in her glory. But those are the way things go. This is also the kid that we went to a store called Wegmans. Beautiful store. Always has produce at the beginning of the store that's just out of this world beautiful. 2 eggs. Plunk it in one now. And they have these beautiful displays. Well, they had fresh broccoli. And although we were going to get broccoli, we were going to get frozen. It was a little easier on the budget. And she stood there in the middle of the produce area having a toddler-sized meltdown because she wanted broccoli. Feet going, the hands going, the face going, pitch of the voice going up. So, yeah, One woman was just looking over and looking like, the kid's like, I want broccoli, and would not be satisfied till we put a bunch of it into the cart. She came over and she said, how'd you get your kid to do that? I said, it's green. Kid likes her broccoli. What can I say? But that was just a cute remembrance. There goes the second egg. I always tease, she's like, I wish I could get my kids to do that. Well, we didn't bring her up on a lot of prepackaged baby foods. We made most of our own with a little food processor, a mini one, a mini chopper. And I would take and do up green beans, and I would do up broccoli, and I would do up sweet potatoes. Oh my gosh, that kid couldn't get enough sweet potatoes. It was kind of funny. Alrighty, now, next up, we're going to put in some flour. Now, I also have some graham crackers crushed up, so they're pretty fine. I'm going to use those. I'm going to take a variation on my oatmeal chocolate chip cookie recipe. So I'm going to start out with a cup of flour. I'm going to use 2 cups total, but I want to start out with 1 because I'm going to dump my rest of my dries on top of this so it mixes in nice. There's 1 cup, and there's my baking powder and baking soda. Into that, I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. That's close enough. It has a shaker top. Looks good. I'm going to use a pinch of ginger here. About 1/8 of a teaspoon. I do have 1/8. If you can get one, recommend. Get 1/8 of a teaspoon size. It'll save you a lot of heartache. Now I want just a little pinch of allspice. Maybe a 1/16 of a teaspoon, if that. It's very strong. And then I needed my cinnamon. I'll come right back. There we go, cinnamon. And I'm going to use about a 1/2 teaspoon, I think, in this. Kind of a generous half, but a half nonetheless, because they're cinnamon graham crackers. So, and then we're going to put our 2nd cup of flour right on the top of that. Why? Because that's what I feel like doing. So we got 2 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of brown sugar, our spices, which is nices, and we're going to see what happens here. No guarantees on these. If they're no good, they're no good. I'll post it up anyway. You never know what's going to end up tasting good, or become a favorite, or become something useful with something you've been gifted that you don't want to see get not used. Because, I mean, how many just plain graham cracker crusts can you make? And I suspect I probably could throw them up in the freezer too, but what the deuce. Okay. That looks good. Looks like it's got the makings. Did you ever get a shooting pain down your middle of your finger? Gotta love carpal tunnel. Don't get old, peeps. And then again, if you do get old, have wonderful experiences. Alrighty. That looks like it's pretty well mixed in. Okay. Move the flour a little. Here's the graham crackers. I have a processor, but figured easier to do myself. Since I've got another separate cup and a half of crunchies, I'm only going to put one of these in. Only because I don't want them too dry. I'm afraid. This is new. Literally, figuratively. This is something totally different. And we'll see how it comes out. Okay. So there's 1 cup of that. Get that mixed in real good. That looks good. Alrighty. We'll see if it's something that's doable. Maybe pass it off as something different. Okay. Like I said, about a cup and a half of crunchier ones. Only because I know they're going to get beaten up when they're mixed. And then, of course, we're going to go with 350. We're going to go in our new little convection. We're going to give this about 20 minutes to start, and then we'll go from there. Okay, we're just about integrated. Alrighty. That looks like it's going to be good. Well, we're going to give it a shot, right? So move our stuff into the sink. I always tend to use a little pinch of ginger anytime I use cinnamon in a recipe. It just makes the flavors pop more. And I like popping flavors. They are good. And I used to have a bowl scraper. Don't remember whatever happened to it. I've got so many utensils here. Well, let me get my pan. Alright. Now I brought down my pan and be mushing it in. And take it to the little thing. Get her to fry. Or burn. And it likes to stick. Alrighty. Let's do this. Moist hands make round balls and keeps the cookie dough in the pan. There we go. It's not so wet that it mushes in too much. This will be good. I'm hoping that I had enough baking powder. If not, if these taste good, I'll try it again when I get some new baking powder, because we've got enough cookies to create for days. So let's give this a shot. That looks pretty flat. That looks pretty crunchy. Alrighty. It's a nice thing about parchment paper. When these do come out and they cool for a little bit, I'll be able to lift the whole tray out onto a sheet. Cool it up. And then cut them out. No worries. Okay. Alrighty. It's going to take a couple minutes. And that's what they look like so far. They're in there pretty good. We're going to give it a shot. And now we wait. I'll clean up this mess. So, one year before they took out, yeah, it's a bad habit. Do you dry your hands on your shirt too? Yeah. Gotta stop doing that. I own a ton of really cute aprons to go over, to wipe on. I usually forget them. Yeah. Oh well. When my little one was little, and she was about 3, it was a nice summer day. Early summer. Say the end of May, beginning of June. And at that moment I wasn't working, so I was doing some dishes up. And she comes over, my daughter tugs on my shirt. Can we go to the park? Can we go to the park? Well, at that time, the park that was there, you literally could almost see from right here. A block away. And I looked at her. I looked at the dishes. I looked out the window. Looked back down at her and the dishes. Out the window. And I said, you know what? You're not going to be little forever. And watching you play is a lot better than doing dishes. So we neglected the dishes. We went to the park. And it was a good time. And we had a lot of fun. Our problem is that I could never figure out when to say, hey, you know, we really got to get home. Dad's going to be home soon, and we got to get supper going or something. But that was good times. It was just a silly little park. There was a couple of swings. There was a slide that was attached to like this climb-on thing that you could go on, and she loved that because you could climb up the tires that were on it and across the little bridge that was there. But it had this big, giant metal slide. Metal slide. It faced north. Yes, the sun comes overhead, then starts hitting it from the west. And this thing, you could see the glare of it up on the space station. I swear you could have. And she wanted to go down that slide. She sat down, and even on her little bum, it was too hot. And we're like, cool. So we went down the little slide because at least that was in the shade. But I did what every really smart person ever did that ever came down a slide. Took a little bit of wax paper. I said, here, you sit on this wax paper and you come down that slide, because the slide wasn't working well. So she did that. Did it about 2 or 3 times, and boy, the next time she came down that slide, go, woo! It was so perfect and so wonderful, and she giggled and climbed up the stairs. Yeah, good times, good times. Now the little bugger towers over me, but what are you going to do? Could be worse. She's a wonderful person. Wouldn't do anything without her. Wouldn't do anything differently. That's the big part. And but I'm going to pause now till that stuff's done cooking. Oh, and quick tip. If you don't own a set of metal measuring cups, get some. Nothing's better than when you just need a couple tablespoons of melted butter. You measure it out. You want to get everything all messed up? No. Throw it in here. Put it on your stove. If your oven's hot, throw it in the middle of the top of the stove. It'll melt your butter. When you get something that's reasonable, you can pour. You can put a flame underneath it. You can turn on an electric burner. They're great. And you got them for everything. Multi-use things. I happen to have 2 sets. My 1/4 cup measuring cup is always in my coffee grounds because you always use 1/2 cup, and the 1/4 cup is there. You measure it out twice. Works great. You always need to, seems like you need a cup, measure full cup for something. You got to have something sloppy in it, like brown sugar or shortening butter or something. Then you need one for your dry, and now you only have one, and it's like, get 2. They're small. They're actually reasonably priced. You don't have to go high end on them. Just make sure they're metal. Save you a ton of work. Back. Dang, the whole house smells of cinnamon right now. That cinnamony, fall-y smell. Let's check them out. We're going to give it another 3 minutes. It's not quite what I want. It still looks a little wet on top. Could be my own doing or undoing, but we'll figure this out. Yeah, but get yourself some metal measuring cups. You won't be disappointed. If you see them at a thrift shop for like super cheap, grab them, even if they're just separate singles. Who cares? You're measuring with them. They don't have to be pretty, they just have to work. Just get them. Also, one of the most useful yet most neglected thing in your whole kitchen are probably these little creatures. Eventually, after using them over and over again, they will absorb any of the oils from any of the pans you're using, any pans you're touching, just the surfaces in general. Wash them. Take the time and wash them. This one's just a few years old. It's a newer, and it's got a burn. I can't remember if it was myself or the hubby that burned it on a hot burner, but such is. The other one had been one of my mom's. I used it when I was still in high school. That was a day or 2 ago. So don't be afraid to put them through the wash real good. Always scrub them in dish soap first to loosen all the grease out. Otherwise it'll never come out. Another tip that I love is keep your salt in the jar. Makes for easy measuring. Alright, they were about 23 minutes. This is what they're looking like. I'm not going to take them any further. I don't want where I had too much dough to get cooked perfectly, but where it could have used a little more to be underdone. We're going to let these rest about 5-10 minutes. I'll pull them out of the pan, chunk them up, and then we'll see how they do. There we go. They are cooling beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. Best part about parchment, no cleanup. Ha 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 ha. Or very little. So, here we've got a beautiful warm cookie bar. I'm going to set that down. Ooh, still a little warm. And the next best thing for sliced bread, little bench scraper. We're going to give these guys a try. Too bad I can't cut straight. big or small as you want. Let's give it a shot. Got a corner. I'd make these again. Only I might add chocolate chips or butterscotch chips. Butterscotch chips would be really good. Or I might also, if I was not going to be sharing it with extras, I would add nuts. I usually go easy on stuff like that because you never know who's going to share. They can't have nuts. But that's going to be that. I'm pleased. I'm excited. We're going to have to make these again.